Hello and welcome to The Print. I'm Snehesh Alex Philip. Well, it's been a few hours since the US took everyone by surprise by striking at three nuclear enrichment centers of Iran. Now, President Donald Trump just 2 days back had said that he will take 2 weeks to decide. But then, Trump being Trump, he carried out the strike in the matter of 48 hours. To understand what the larger implications are, what does this mean for Israel, and the road ahead, I have with me Lev Aran. He's a dear friend of mine. He's an Israeli journalist, someone who works very closely on Israel Middle East relations as well as Israel India relations. So, welcome to The Print, Lev.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I hope you are safe, your family and loved ones are safe as this conflict is going on.
Yes, we are. If something happens, I'm going to the shelter,
Yes, hopefully nothing of that sort will happen as we speak right now. But my heart goes out to you and your friends and family. But coming to the issue of the latest escalation in violence, why do you think Trump did what he did? If you go by the U.S. intelligence, the DNI, Tulsi Gabbard had in March said that while Iran does have the capability to make nuclear weapons, there is no evidence to suggest that the Iranian supreme leader had actually directed for the weapons to be made. And now we have Trump carrying out the strike. What changed?
Trump never believed the mythology that the supreme leader of Iran, he's actually the dovish leader who actually doesn't want any nuclear capability for Iran. And I believe Tulsi believed it, and we know that those who started the nuclear program were the secular parts of Iran, the Iranian Shah. And then Ayatollah Khomeini decided to stop it.
Yeah.
And then the next Ayatollah decided to do it. I think as far as Trump was concerned, Iran wanted nuclear capabilities. And this is why the Oman talks never, they failed from the first moment they started.
Okay. Israel has been struck by a wave of missiles, and Iran did carry out the strikes since the attack itself, since the U.S. strikes. How's the situation in Israel?
My friends lost their house. Many people lost their lives. The main hospital in southern Israel, Soroka, it is like kaput, finished. So we are paying a very heavy price for for this war in Iran. That some people even say that we started this war. But if we compare it to what happened in Israel once, the very soft watchdog said that Iran is actually cheating everybody, and they do want to have the nuclear capabilities. The price is heavy, but it could be even heavier.
Okay, the price could have been heavier had Iran actually acquired a nuclear weapon. But
yes.
Whenever I speak to the Israelis, and this is something that Trump has also mentioned about that, the ultimate goal is regime change, right? Is that what Israel is looking at in Israel? And how do you ensure a regime change? Are you, for example, Trump in his infamous tweet had mentioned that we know where the supreme leader is hiding and we're not taking him out yet. Is he a legitimate Israeli target?
Israel is not India. In India, I guess none of the ministers in Modi's cabinet would say anything that would embarrass him. In Israel, we have so many parties in the Netanyahu's coalition. Very often they speak to their base. Very often they say irresponsible things about Gaza, about the West Bank, about Iran. Of course, everybody would be happy Everybody would be happy if we saw a regime change in Iran. But I don't think that when Israel started this attack, a regime change was like the only goal that we expected. The main thing that we wanted is to have a war along with the USA and to take Iranians 2-3 years back in their nuclear capabilities. I don't think regime change was a top priority.
Okay. So, many would argue that Israel is getting into one conflict after another, right? And many would argue, saying that it was the Israeli prime minister, who's carrying out these operations, who's waging a continuous war to ensure that he stays in power. What would you say to that?
You will hear a lot of Israeli voices that saying the same thing that you said right now, but more as far as Gaza is concerned. Okay, when the last battles in Gaza started a few weeks back, you could hear people who said it is like a political war, it is a war of survival for Benjamin Netanyahu and so on. But once a very soft watchdog said that Iranians are cheating us, you could see a consensus within Israel. Again, you have some people in Israel in the left fringe who are against any war. But if we look at the Zionist consensus, for over a decade, there is a consensus that we should not allow Iran to have nuclear capabilities. So as far as Iran is concerned, or Hezbollah is concerned, we have a consensus. As far as Gaza and Hamas is concerned, you will see a lot of domestic feuds.
So what you're essentially telling me is that when it comes to Israel-Hamas conflict or Israel-Gaza conflict, there is some kind of division of opinion on what line to be taken. But when it comes to Israel-Iran, everybody is on the same page.
Yes, because as far as Gaza is concerned, you can hear left-wing voices that say Israel always had a very short wars. When we have a very long war, we lose our friends. And we can smash also Hamas in 5 years, in 7 years. The most important thing is to have, to have our brothers and sisters back from the tunnels in Gaza. When we speak about Iran, everybody understands there is a consensus that if Donald Trump and Netanyahu are on the same page and we have an opportunity to hit the Iranian capabilities, we should do it. And even we should do it now. Maybe we will not have this chance, let's say, in half a year or 1 year and so on. So Gaza is a totally different story.
Gaza is a totally different story. But where do you see this conflict going from here? What do you think, how is Iran going to retaliate?
Israel is more like Taiwan. Israel is not like India. India always wanted to be very independent in its foreign policy. And you will not find India, let's say, signing treaties that compromise the freedom of the Indian foreign policy. While Israel has to comply and be obedient to Donald Trump. And this right-wing government even has to be even more obedient to Donald Trump because both of them are like on the right side of the political map. So for Netanyahu, it is a personal victory over the MAGA, people around Donald Trump. But on the other hand, if Trump tells Netanyahu, you should stop, Netanyahu cannot walk over the red lines of Donald Trump. Again, Israel is not India.
Okay. So, I completely agree that Israel is not India and India is not Israel. I think there is a lot to learn from both sides. And especially when it comes to security and defense issues, I think India has a lot to see and study the Israeli tactics so far. But you mentioned the fact that if Donald Trump says something, the Israeli prime minister has to listen. So So can I safely assume that both the Israeli Prime Minister and Donald Trump are currently in bed together when it comes to carrying out these strikes? So they were never at divergent views. They were always together.
Yes, I was surprised to read in the BBC that the Americans did not know about the new Iran-Israel mini-war, because I'm sure that Israel would not risk our pilots and intelligence and so on without a green light from the American administration.
Yeah.
And also, if Donald Trump comes to a conclusion that Iranians were humiliated enough and they are ready to come to Oman with, let's say, a modest and humble way, and they give up the nuclear capabilities that they wanted to have, and he tells Netanyahu, okay, now we have to stop, we will have to comply. And again, Trump is not even Biden. When it was Biden, Netanyahu could, let's say, bank on the Republican side. When the Republicans control everything, the Senate, Congress, and also presidency, it means that we have to be very obedient to what Trump says, and Netanyahu knows it.
I also wanted to understand, Israel has been trying to better its ties with the Middle Eastern countries, right? Now, where does this whole program really stand at?
Israel is very lucky because we had a continuum of 300 kilometers from Iran to Lebanon of a pro-jihadist, a crazy, irresponsible country like Iran who wants to have nuclear capabilities. So in this sense, we see much more stability in Lebanon. Al-Julani in Syria, with all the minuses, still he's not a pro-Iranian chamcha. So in this sense, also we are very lucky. And also the Iranian regime is hated by over 70% of Iranians. And Israelis, they love Iranians. Okay, maybe they don't like the regime, but they like the people. So in this sense, we are very lucky. And of course, we all hope and pray that this jihadist regime will collapse. But even if this jihadist regime will not be as strong as it was 1 month ago, still, I think that both Americans and Israelis will be happy. And if you remember how the Iranians fanned the flames in Kashmir itself after 370, also many Indians will be happy, I think.
Well, I'll hold your thoughts to that. But thank you so much for speaking to the Print, Lev, and giving us an insight into the situation overall. But as I said, I wish and pray for your safety. Please be safe and hope to catch up with you very soon.
Thank you very much.